How's everybody doing? You okay? Thanks for coming out. Ready, Barb? Ready? Come on, Batu, the hand. All right. I think we can commence with the decadence.
Yeah. Holy crap. I'll probably put that in and just, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Aces, Axes, fans. Funk N Waffles, fans. Buckets members. I am speechless right now. That's why I am messing up my speech. This man right here next to me, I have watched play guitar for well over a decade, numerous hours.
Oh, you're not that old.
I am a little older than I look, and I'm sitting right next to him. This man right here is named Greg Koch, and he is the guitar player tonight for the Koch Marshall Trio.
Yes.
Greg, thank you so much,
My
first of all,
pleasure.
for sitting down and talking with us.
It's cool back here.
Yeah, I was going to say, luckily we have an orange wall, so you feel
At
right
home.
at home up here and everything like that. So,
I love it.
It is November 21st in 2024. We were at Funk N Waffles, like I said, and Greg was gracious enough to sit down and talk to us before he annihilates us on stage, and I am so excited. We've got a three-piece tonight, not featured on film, but going to be on video. We've got Toby Lee Marshall playing the Hammond organ.
Yes.
And your son, Dylan,
that is
playing
correct.
drums, who I did not expect him to be as tall as you were, and I'd love to see how it just runs in the family.
Yes, he's a giant.
Yeah, it is fantastic. So a little backstory about Greg, for all you guys that don't know, you're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Correct.
AKA the Good Land, a little Wayne's World joke.
Milwaukee.
Yes. I'm assuming it's probably been told to you a million times, but I had to throw it in there.
That's all right.
It's not often you get to talk to somebody from there. So you have won the Blues Artist of the Year from there, from 93, 95, 96, 97, 98. And in 2023, you were inducted into the Wisconsin Area Music Industry Hall of Fame. And I must say, there are two other people on there who are pretty cool to be a part of there. You got Butch Vig,
Yep.
who produced 2 small albums, Nirvana's Nevermind and Siamese Dreams by the Pumpkins.
That's correct.
And a little old man named Les Paul.
That's correct.
So pretty cool to be in there with those two guys.
And I knew Les, and I know Butch, so that's fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, Les invited you to play at his birthday party even and everything, correct?
Well, actually, I sat in with him, but by the time I played his birthday party, he was. I think he might have been gone by then.
But he had invited you to play.
Yeah, I sat in with him at the Iridium, where I'm playing in a couple of days.
Oh, look at that! Perfect.
Yes.
So I'd like to consider you blues rock, but more emphasis on the rock, in my opinion,
Yeah,
and everything
that's
like
fair.
that.
It's a fair assumption.
But it's instrumental for the most part, but it's not a wank fest. It's not a shreddy show-off thing that you can't show to your significant other and turn them off right away. I think a significant other would be like, I can get down with this. There's actually some melody. There's something they can hum and everything.
And there's
like
grooves. It's groovy. It's groovy shit.
Right, you got that funk behind it and everything like that. So I absolutely love that.
Well, thank you.
It's a great. I said it's the right blend of melody, licks, and showmanship. So that's how I would describe it.
You're hired.
Yeah. So you have 18 plus albums between Greg Koch and the Tone Controls, Greg Koch and the Other Bad Men, the Greg Koch Trio, and the Koch Marshall Trio.
Yes.
At the end of this month, in a few days, you're going to be releasing a blues compilation called Greg Koch Blues.
That's correct. Yep.
It has a couple of new tracks on there, and then kind of you picked one from each album kind of thing.
Well, actually, I just went back and I picked out all literally the 12-bar blues songs that were actually on those old records.
Awesome.
Because every time I wrote blues songs in the past, I'd always, add more stuff to make them different, which I thought was my mission statement.
Hell yeah.
But sometimes people just want it just straight down the middle, and I was like, okay.
Right. Here's an album for you.
Exactly.
And the first single off of it is Can't Be Satisfied.
That's correct.
Featuring Larry McCroy. And you guys actually trade vocals and everything.
Correct, yes.
Trade guitar slide lines and everything like that. So
yes.
That was very cool. Where was that? It looked like a music kind of Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was in St. Louis at the Blues Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool little video and everything. So make sure you guys go check that out.
Please do.
You have published countless books with Hal Leonard between styles, methods, and everything like that.
Yep.
So even if you don't know this man's name and you play guitar, chances are you've touched a lot of different guitar players, brains and everything like that.
It's been crazy over the years that people have come up and said, hey, I used your book, or years ago I did your Stevie Ray Vaughan signature licks things, and it's pretty wild. It's cool. I grew
up as a magazine guitar guy, so I have seen your picture hundreds of times with the Hal Leonard, you eating the telly and everything like that. Like, ingrained in my brain and everything. You have countless DVDs teaching your skills. You have worked with Fender and Martin as a demo specialist.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of can't get bigger than those two brands in the music industry. I mean, Martin's been doing it for 150 years and still probably the best acoustic guitar.
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
So, your work with Wildwood guitars, legendary. I don't think there's another word that can be said for it. According to Wikipedia, 4,000 videos and over 50 million views through Wildwood guitars.
Yes.
That is,
And that's an old stat.
yeah, this was from
Yeah.
2023, I want
Yeah.
to say, because it was before the last album and everything came out. So I can't even fathom that number, man. That
It's
is
a lot.
ginormous. That
It's
is a lot
crazy.
of guitars. I worked at Guitar Center for like 12 years, and I was like, oh, I've touched a lot of guitars, and I was like, not that, maybe a lot of Squires, but not that many. So after all that, you have not only one set, but two set of signature pickups through Fishman.
Now 3. There's
Now-
a third one coming. Third one coming.
Third one coming. You have 3 signature guitars currently with Reverend.
Correct.
You've got the Gristle Master, you've got the Gristle 90, and
Correct.
the newest Gristle ST.
That's correct. You are correct.
You have...
You're spot on, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. You've got the Jam pedal, which is the newest thing for you to
The
put
Koch
out.
Ness Monster.
The Koch Ness Monster, which
Yes.
everybody that I tell that's a non-guitar player just laughs. Like, it's maybe the perfect name.
And I didn't even come up with it. The people at Jam came up with it. I was
well,
like, how's that? I go, sounds good.
Done and done. And I actually got to let Greg know that there is the bigger version, the Koch Ness Monster Supreme, is already sold out, the pre-sales for it and everything. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
Because it is not an inexpensive piece of gear.
I was just going to say.
And I think it's easily worth every penny, but I could see some people being like, that's a signature pedal, that's a lot of money, and very clearly people are willing to pay it because it's sold out already, man.
Well,
So
I'll tell you what, it's
congratulations.
got all the good stuff on it.
Dude, and it looks amazing. If you guys don't know, Syracuse, we're the Orangemen because of the university here, and it is one of the brightest orange glitter. Brian Setzer would play that thing proudly, basically.
Indeed.
So enough of me basically blowing up this man and trying not to make him look humble and everything. I do have some questions about the gear, but it's not often that I have a guitar hero sitting next to me, so I do have a couple questions for you.
Okay, no problem.
You have said before that when you started playing, you jammed along to records.
Yes.
What are 5 records that you could suggest for any guitar player out there trying to better their chops? You got 5 where you were like, these are good for everybody.
Well, okay, I'll break it down to kind of the bluesier stuff. I
Yep.
mean, you know, everyone talks about the Eric Clapton with John Mayall on the John Mayall's Blues Breakers record, the Beano record.
Okay.
And I definitely suggest that one.
Cool.
But B.B. King live at the Regal
Awesome.
is one that is as absolute must. I would say the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore is
Fantastic.
must-have listening.
Fantastic. We here at Funk N Waffles, actually next week, one of our awesome local bands, Pop Culture, is doing a Allman Brothers thing the day after Thanksgiving and everything. So
Perfect.
we're super excited for that.
Awesome.
And they're like 21-year-old kids and everything. So it's just like, when I first met them, all of them were backstage, not on their cell phones, just talking about music. And I was like, hey, the next generation is in good hands
That's
and
a beautiful
everything.
thing.
So yes.
Excellent. We're at 3, right?
Yes,
Okay.
we're at 3. I apologize.
I would say, as much as Are You Experienced is kind of just a treasure trove of Jimmy's probably most recognizable tunes, I just have to say Axis Bold as Love is my favorite. I mean, Electric Ladyland is awesome as well, but it's overwhelming.
Right.
But, you know, as far as like, as much as it's not really Jimmy's, although there is some great lead playing on there, as far as like a rhythm guitar manifesto.
Right, something to play along with and everything.
Yeah, I mean, and those tunes are not easy, but once you get it going, man, let the good times roll. Axis Bold as Love, Jim Hendrix.
Cool, cool.
I would say that. I would also have to say another fun one for me was the Rolling Stones, Get Your Ya-Ya's Out.
Awesome.
I played along
I
with
don't
that.
know that album. So.
I played along with that record 1,000 times. And
Fantastic.
it's a live record from 1969 when Mick Taylor just joined the band.
Okay.
And as I said, I've played along with that record just countless hours.
Cool.
My first slide solo I ever learned was Mick Taylor solo on Love in Vain on that record. And It's just a blast.
Sweet, sweet.
Good time. Is that 5?
Yeah, that was 5.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
That was 5.
I could go on, but that's those are good.
Yes. So obviously your love of Hendrix, from what I've heard, he was kind of your first, like, I'm going to play guitar because of that.
Yes.
So you can emulate him, but I don't think you copy him. I wouldn't even be like, oh, he's just another Hendrix guy or anything like that. So I love how you could do it, but it doesn't come across as you just trying to copy him and everything like that.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, that was always kind of my mission statement to kind of do my own thing.
Yeah. So I do notice, and obviously I don't have the best ear. Do you like Neil Young a whole lot?
I do love Neil Young.
Yeah, I've noticed in a lot of demos, I hear Neil Young riffage and everything, and I'm like, I like that because I enjoy how you're like, it needs a little grit on it. It needs a little dirt on everything you do and everything. And I didn't know if that's where the Neil Young love came from or where it came from.
I just always dug his tunes, and I was actually talking with a buddy of mine yesterday, and he's like, yeah, we were talking, I love the way he solos, because he was like, some of his solos, I'm like, listen, they're like guitar utterances. You know what I mean? It's not like licks. It's just him, like, just making utter sounds.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
And I dig it. Like on that latest tour, he opened up with Cortez the Killer. It's just like that riff is just so epic.
Right.
And just the pure sound of just that, into that deluxe reverb, or sorry, just Tweed Deluxe cranked. It's just ferocious.
Yeah,
So I got a soft spot for old Neil, no doubt.
Awesome. And some people just making those kind of sounds, the Adrian Bello era of David Bowie, that mid-90s industrial and everything.
Yeah.
He did a lot of that where he's not playing anything guitar-wise, but it works perfectly for that era and everything like that.
He's a cool dude, too.
So you actually kind of have said it, but your guitar playing to me sounds like it's almost dangerous to purists, where you're like, yeah, I could play blues, but I'm going to throw your personality into it and everything like that. So I really appreciate that. And it comes across in your gear, too. You're like, I could play a T-style guitar with noisy pickups and with non-locking tuners, but it's 2024. Why not make it sound a little bit more high definition? Why not make it easier for me to, do my thing and actually play guitar more?
Right.
So I appreciate how you're like, love of the old, but you're like, there's easier ways to do it now.
This is true. Yes, sir.
So it is awesome. I must say, 2 of my favorite songs of yours, and they're completely different styles of guitar jams. On the acoustic album, Fall from Grace, did you write, is that a personal song you wrote? It's not a cover or anything?
No, that's my daughter. I wrote it for my daughter, Grace. There's an electric version with the
okay.
lyric. There's a lyric to it.
But that song, the guitar playing is one of the most vocal-like core. It is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, I'm glad you like it. Thank you.
Yes, that, and then I love Chiefs Blues. Very Gary Moore-like phrasing and everything like that, and that is a badass song.
Oh, well, thank you. That was an off-the-cuff thing. We were recording.
Really? Holy shit, you're talented.
Sorry. well, it was the first time I was really. We set up in this. We rented this old church.
Okay.
And we were doing a remote recording in this church, and I had this Marshall set up, and this buddy of mine lent me his Les Paul, and I really had never had the chance all that much to just plug a Les Paul straight into a Marshall and crank it.
Right.
The sound is so awesome. Yeah. I said, let's just do a blues in A.
Right.
And then I came up with the melody, and then we kind of ran through it once, and then we recorded it twice. And we picked the best one, and that was that.
So you have like those like pre-bent, double bent, just absolutely
well, thank you.
Awesome.
Glad you dig it.
So you have toured with a lot of trios, 4-piece bands, and I had heard you talk about playing with Allman Brothers, dual drummers, and I kind of saw a look in your eyes where you were like, that was a whole lot of fun.
Yes.
If money wasn't an object, transportation wasn't an object, and you could just do what you wanted to do, what would you pick? Would you pick being a part of a huge 9-piece touring band, or do you really like the small 3-piece so you can explore your guitar?
Well, that's an excellent question. From where I'm at business-wise,
right,
and musically, as far as what we're able to do and keep it consistently good, the trio is fantastic.
Right.
Because Toby's his left hand's the best bass player there never was.
Right.
And he's a great soloist. We've been adding more vocals. He sings some, I sing some. We sing stuff together, and it's got a thing. And so that unit has a definite vibe to it. But like on the latest record, we had horns on it, and I used to play in a band in college where we had horns, and I would experiment with having horns and different things. So if money wasn't an object, you know, 2 drummers, horns.
You do the whole thing, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd probably get a ringer vocalist or 2.
Right.
And
maybe a male, female,
exactly.
and everything like that. Yeah, I would love to see you do something like that.
You know, but the key is to get people who. I mean, that's the hardest thing. Is like the reason why this unit works so great is because we're all on the same page.
Right.
And you know, when you got money, you can motivate people to be on the same page.
Right. That's why I'm doing this actually, because I work at the post office normally, so trying to find people to work around that schedule wasn't easy. So I was like, well, how do I talk music without doing the band thing? So
right.
Kind of here we are right now.
I like it.
So that actually kind of leads me to the next question, along with the band thing. Say Nuno Bettencourt was like, Rihanna needs a guitar player for a month, and I have to go do something, and she wants somebody larger than life. You obviously enjoy being the band leader and kind of doing your thing. Would you take up that role? Or if like Jelly Roll called you and was like, man, you a funny guy, I need someone to play guitar. Is that a gig that you're interested in, or it's not even in your wheelhouse?
You know, I guess if it would be a nice problem to have to figure out.
That's a great answer.
You know, it's kind of an interesting scenario because so much of who gets those calls these days, it's all, you know, it's a glamour show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I get it, and I really don't give a shit at this point.
You know what I mean? Totally understandable.
But that being said, if you know, there are certain artists that if they would call me and say, hey, you know, you want to go out for a few months, and there are other artists that maybe I wouldn't like it, but then my wife would say, well, how much are they going to pay you?
Right, and that's what I was wondering, because I mean, like those kind of gigs, Nuno Bettencourt even says it. He's like, I'm shredding every night. He's like, I'm not playing just like little things and everything like that. So I like those. Some of those pop artists seem to actually embrace the musicianship and everything like that.
Right. You know, and again, it'd be a good. I'd like to experiment with having the problem, but the only thing about having those types of gigs is when, and again, I'm not speaking from experience, other than watching friends of mine who have been in those scenarios where all of a sudden you get a big gig where you're playing in a name artist's thing and it's awesome. You're traveling first class, you're making good bread. Oh, we're gonna go out this year for a tour. Oh, we're gonna go for the next year. Then you get used to that.
Right.
And then the whole time you're out of circulation.
Your solo stuff, your personal.
Yeah, everything's out of, and then all of a sudden, yeah, we decided to do something else this year. And then you got to start from scratch all over again. I mean, some people can juggle it, but not many.
Right. I'm a big stand-up comedian fan, and a lot of them talk about if they do movies, it's the same thing where they're like, well, now I'm doing no stand-up for 6 months, and I'm forgotten about in that realm.
Right,
so,
exactly.
That's awesome. I'm happy I asked you that because I didn't think about that, and that's why you're professional, and I'm just the guy here. So.
But again, you know, it would be a nice problem to experience. But no one, I mean, it's a strange thing. You know, there are certain gigs where people are like, why aren't you on that gig? I was like, it's all a matter of who you know and relationships and and I live in Milwaukee, so I'm not in Nashville or New York or LA or even Austin. Now I know a ton of people, but when you're not there, and you're not, you know,
name gets forgotten. You're not popping into the same club and it's like, oh, I saw Greg again. Oh yeah, you know what? He's here. I can ask him to do that.
Plus, you know, and then they're always thinking, well, he's got his own thing. He probably would never do it in a million years. And, And I mean, it would have to be juicy. But be that as it may, again, it would be a problem I would like to navigate.
Awesome. That is a great answer. One of my favorite guitar players is very expressive like you, plays a lot of slide like you, is an instructor like you. Are you into Paul Gilbert at all?
I am, and I got to be friendly with Paul.
Really?
I did his guitar camp summer before last.
Awesome.
And that was a blast.
Yeah.
We just got along great, and yeah, totally down to earth, good a guy, and his chops are just freakish.
He's kind of like you, where it's like he's a shredder plus, where you're a blues rock guy plus, where it's because he has an interview with the Anderton guys, and he's playing all these keyboard chords and everything, and it's like I see you doing a lot of those things where you're just like, I could play the blues, but I could also learn the vocal line while doing it because I'm that good. So that's awesome that you were friends with him, and I kind of picked that up and
Yeah, he's
everything
great.
like that.
He's magnificent.
And super tall like you. I believe he wears size 14. So do I. So
Yeah, he's a
maybe-
big fella.
Yeah. So, and I appreciate how your board is not super tight because he always talks about. He's like, I got mini pedals, and he's like, I'm stomping on 3 of them accidentally because of his big foot.
That is a problem.
So yeah, that it is. When you play slide, are you always in an open tuning, or will you be able to pick it up in standard and just be like, nah, I'm good to go?
Both.
Both?
So I do standard tune, but lately, throughout the night I'll do, I think an open G. I've got a guitar set to open G, and lately in the last couple nights I've been bringing along a guitar in open E.
Oh, sweet.
But then we do another tune where I'll just grab the slide and play it in standard tuning. So I definitely have my, various things that I do in those scenarios that I will wield when the time comes.
Pyrex slides or glass, I mean?
I use, right now I'm using the like Corsedon type bottle.
Okay, awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, Dunlap makes one, D'Addario makes one. Which one's not broken close, I'll use.
Yeah, understandable. Was there a live tone, either as a younger musician or somebody recently, that you heard and you were just like, holy shit?
Well,
You played with some cats, obviously, and everything, so I'm guessing.
Oh, you mean like at a concert?
Yeah, like at a concert, like you went to a show maybe not expecting the best tone, or you were playing with somebody and you were just like blown away.
I'm trying to think. Well, I always mention Danny Toller, who played with the Allman Brothers, and he played with Greg Allman's band.
Okay.
And I saw him live at this little club, and the sound of his Les Paul just straight into a Marshall.
No.
And it really wasn't that loud. You know?
Right.
And it was a full stack. And I was like right up on the stage, and it just was, you turned the volume down, it was like the best clean sound. You turn it up, and it was just this thick and glorious sound.
Yeah.
So that always was a big one for me. I saw ZZ Top in '82 before he got hold of, more of those modern discombobulators. And it was his old tone, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Mick Taylor when I was like a sophomore in high school, playing with John Mayall, and he was playing through a twin with a Marshall bottom, and that was awesome.
Awesome.
So those are the ones that come to mind.
Very cool. Do you still go guitar shopping?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I just bought a guitar the other day.
That's awesome.
And I was in Woodstock, New York, and I saw this weird guitar. I like weird stuff. Mm-hmm. And preferably weird and cheap.
Right. Yeah, it's a good combination.
And I saw this, it was orange. It was this orange Gibson Challenger. I'd never heard of the Challenger. I said to this gal who was running the shop, I go,
Sounds like a boat.
I was like, what is this guitar? She goes, oh, it's an '83 Gibson Challenger. And I picked it up, and it was light. So it's a bolt-on, but it's like a Les Paul body, but more like a...
Is that the one that's on stage?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is weird. I go, this is all original? This is the original? And then he looked online. He's like, sure enough. And I go, how much you want for it? She goes, $800. I said, we're done.
$800 is the magic number.
We're done here.
Yeah.
And so that's the one I use. I tune it to open E, and away we go. But it sounds great.
That's awesome. So yeah, very cool. So a man that has signature guitars and everything, I was like, bet you he still goes shopping. And
There's no doubt. I mean, I'm a lot better than I used to be.
Right.
Because with the Reverend stuff, there's a new color out. And
Right.
It arrives at my house. So I'm kind of like, it'd be kind of gluttonous to just go out and get something. But I'm always sniffing around.
I'm not always the biggest fan of black guitars, but that black P90 version of your guitar with the cream, that is a real sexy looking guitar. I want to see it. I haven't seen it in person, but the pictures, I'm like, oh, that's real nice looking.
It's a sassy one.
So you've done tons of instructing, teaching. Are there common mousetraps that players fall in that you notice, or things that pop up a lot where you're just like, there it is again?
I think the thing that I notice most, well, let's put it this way. I used to do a fair bit of Skype lessons.
Yes, I saw that.
I call them Skype lessons. Online lessons. Now I use Zoom.
Right.
I still call it Skype lessons. Is Skype even around anymore? But anyway, so a lot of people will always be like, I play one chorus of a blues and I've played every lick that I know.
Right.
And then I say, well, you shouldn't really play licks per se. You should do this kind of conversational way of approaching, improvising, where you play something and what you're about to play is influenced by what you just played. And so I kind of demonstrate that to them, and then I always say, work on your vibrato, and I mean, especially if you're coming from a blues rock point of view or more of a roots thing, it's like you got to get the vibrato and the phrasing down.
Right.
Because learning a bunch of fast things, and then when you do your vibrato, it sounds like a pigeon being violated.
That's what people are going to remember, not the fast things before it.
Exactly.
Right. So being conscious of what you're playing and not just being like, well, I did my bag of tricks. And it's like, well, no, think about your bag of tricks.
Exactly. Okay. And sometimes you don't even play your bag of tricks.
Right.
Like if I'm soloing like if I'm doing like a little blues thing, and I might just kind of go. So you hear how, I start off with a little thing, I kind of answer it, and then it's not like a verbatim call and response, but you're always just kind of cognizant of what you just played and you're playing off it. And then that way, you might not play any licks at all.
Right.
Again, getting back to they're just utterances,
Right.
So that's what I try to steer people into doing when they're soloing, because that's how, when I'm playing, that's what I'm doing all the time.
Cool.
And even though I'm heavily caffeinated usually, and sometimes they're up-tempo things, and my mind will be going, but there's always that thing happening.
Awesome. True professional. Is there a harder style, or do you go outside of blues when you're teaching people, or do you try to stick in that?
Oh, no, I go all over.
I was going to say, is there a style that even you, like, do you do the two-hand tap? I mean,
I don't really do any tapping.
Yeah.
I mean, I should say I don't do any tapping.
right.
At some point, for a couple of little things I did for Hal Leonard, I had to do some tapping things, and I did it begrudgingly.
Right.
Just because, I mean, that's been covered so many times by so many people. Now people might say, yeah, well, blues shit's been covered. But it's different, because when you're tapping, I guess it really comes down to choice of notes. Right? So it becomes a matter of putting interesting notes together. With just conventional playing, with the way I phrase and try to do that more of that bluesy bending type of things, the notes are always different. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the character of the notes and the vibe of the notes is what I'm more interested in, as opposed to the quantity and being able to extend the quantity and harmonies with the hands. You know what I mean?
No, totally. Oh man, you are so cool. Sorry. So you have worked with, like I said, Fender, Martin, that pedal show, Sweetwater. What, besides you being a kick-ass guitar player, because there's hundreds and hundreds of them, what do you think gets you those gigs? What do you think, besides your personality, and obviously you're good for on camera to be funny and everything, what do you think sets you aside for all these companies? Do you show up on time always? Are you polite? What can you do?
Yeah, I mean, all those things. I mean, when I first was asked...
and I mean it in a very positive way.
I get it. Well, it was an interesting ride, because when I first started doing stuff for Fender, there were guys that really championed me. But then there were all the other guys who were like, well, why don't we just get, at the time, why don't we get Elliot Easton from the Cars, or why don't we get this guy, or why don't we get that guy? And they were reticent to use the guy that wasn't really known.
Right.
But what was happening is I'd go and do clinic, and I didn't know I would be good at clinics. They were like, "Would you want to do one?" And then I did one,
Right.
and I just knew how to pace everything. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, I'll talk about this for a while. I'll tell a story about that. I'll show this. I'll get the sound on this. I'll play this thing.
Right. It just kind of came natural to you.
It came naturally. And so what they realized is that, you could get a big name person at that time. This is going back, 30 years, my God, or something like that, 25 years.
Right.
No, actually 30 years. Anyway, the big name artist, and you might get, 500 people going into the store, but they're not there to buy something. They're just there to get an autograph from this individual or,
Right.
or to hang out and make the scene.
Right.
Whereas the same token, it's like, here this unknown guy might go into a thing and 25 people might show up. But of that 25, there's a few of them walking out with they're buying stuff.
Right. A $2,200 pedal.
Or whatever the case may be. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how the whole thing happened, is that, I started to, musically, I always saw all those things as artistic exploits. You know what I mean? It's like, I got to do a clinic on this, and this. Well, I'll come up with some new songs that will be good for that, and I'll put those on the record. Oh, there's a new piece of gear you want me to use. Well, cool. I'll write to that and then put it on the record, and then it's one happy, joyous thing. So that's one reason.
Right.
And then when I would go out and do the clinics, stuff would sell in my wake. And they could see it happening.
Right.
And so...
You produce numbers. You put numbers on the board.
Exactly. And then the same thing with Hal Leonard. I mean, when I did rewrote the Hal Leonard guitar method with them, with the original author, I went through it and added some useful...
I mean, just to say that, I worked at a guitar store, like I said, for 15 years. And to think about the number of kids that I sold that book to in Syracuse, like, yeah, you've literally touched millions of people.
It's weird. Of course, I had no idea that was in the cards.
Right.
It just kind of happened. And, but it was one of those things where I started going out and doing clinics for that, and then there was some symbiosis where Fender started using that as the Fender guitar method was actually that book.
Oh, sweet.
That was in all the Strat packs back
Yeah.
then.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love the Strat packs.
So there was a lot of symbiosis with that, and then it became the #1 selling guitar method in the world. So they were pleased.
Right.
And then anytime there was any problem, like, the Australian people are like, well, they told the people back in at Hal Leonard Central, like, sales of the new method they're not taking off like they are in America. And they're like, well, have you had Greg there yet? And so I would start going down there, and then, I don't know why, but it just happened.
Right.
So I think that was the thing, is that I put up numbers. But the other thing that was weird is that I was always just about playing in a band, and the band was always like, people would see the band like, oh my God, why aren't you this, that, and the next thing? I'm like, well, kind of you were alluding to before, if you're not a straight blues band, or if you're not a straight rock band,
Right.
and, it's shreddy, but it's not shred. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then of course we're not, now we've got a little bit more of a look per se, but a brand, if you will. But back then it was just dudes getting up there to rock,
Right.
So there was always, the thing that I had in my back pocket that a lot of other guys didn't, that were doing that kind of work, is that I was an artist. I wrote music, I led bands.
Right.
I understood pacing, I understood how to entertain a crowd.
Right.
Whether they were guitar heads or just normal folk. you
Right.
know? So as a result, all those skills, thank God, together helped out. I had 4 kids to raise, with my wife. She at one point, she was like, hey, you fire up your game a little bit so I could stay home,
Yeah.
at least for like a year with
Right.
the kids. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So a bunch of things lined up, and I ended up doing all these different things, and it worked.
And you got to do a lot of traveling because of it, it sounds like, and everything.
Yes, I went all over, especially in the Fender days, man. I went all over the world. I still do with the band, but it's not like it was where I'd be like, oh, I'm in Singapore this week, or you know what I mean? Oh, I'm down here. I'm in Australia. I'm in China or whatever.
Right.
Now, we go to Europe and we do our thing over there. We tour all over the States with the band, and we're looking to kind of get to all those places
Yeah.
with the band. But
Did you get to hang out in Fender Japan like that, or is
you
that?
know, I never. It was weird with Fender Japan because I would come over there and I would fly in and out of Tokyo, but I never really did anything for them in Japan.
Interesting.
The first time I did something in Japan was for Martin and for Fishman.
Oh, cool.
But it was weird because I went there and there were all these people like, oh, we're big fans. I'm like, I had no idea.
Right.
And so it's same thing in China. China's like, I hear like, oh, if you went to China, it'd be great. And people know about you. And I'm like, oh, interesting.
One of my favorite bands is Pantera, and they showed
Oh, yeah.
them going to Japan back in the day, and the kids all have pink beards like Dimebag and
Yeah,
stuff, and I'm like, they don't know a single word, and they're all screaming along, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So, is there a guitar style, look-wise, that you, I don't want to say hate, but you're like, I'll pass on that? That either doesn't fit, per se, or you're just like, flying V's just don't work for me?
You know, I kind of like everything, but it's just like what I like to listen to or what I want to do.
Right. I'd love to see a V with some P90s in it and everything like that. That'd be great.
I mean, I love to rock, but I'm not. You know, it's like I never figured out Eruption, for instance. You know what I mean?
Understandable.
I never figured out any Yngwie. You know, as much as I love Eric Johnson, I never figured out Cliffs of Dover. You know what I mean? It's just like that stuff. To me, it had been done so much by everybody.
Right.
The stuff that really intrigued me, it's like you know, people get into this argument about Hendrix now, and they're like, oh well, compared to the shredders of today, his playing is infantile. I was like, you still can't do that,
Right.
Because it's not about the notes being played, it's how they were played,
Right.
and how the tunes were put together, and how he improvised. Now, and there's also the whole aspect that stuff has come to light because he passed away and everyone wants to hear every little thing he ever recorded.
Right.
But he didn't want anything that wasn't perfect to be heard.
Right.
So we would have, if he would have, you never would have heard
Those
any of
bootlegs
this.
would have been buried in
Yeah,
everything.
the sketchy stuff would have been buried.
Right.
And that was back then, you know, when you did live shows, like maybe some guy was recording it on a little, tape thing,
a
but
little Tascam handheld tape recorder.
but they had no idea that years later, like entire tours of your entire life would end up on YouTube.
Right, and everyone nitpicking you. And you're just
Exactly.
like,
Well,
man,
this
it was
is crap. He was horrible.
It was a
It's like,
Tuesday in Norway, man. Leave
exactly.
me alone.
I was, someone slipped me some acid. I didn't even know what planet I was on.
Right.
But yeah, it's. I was always interested in more of just the sound of how people played the notes versus the quantity of notes.
And what really comes across, like I'd say, and I like Paul Gilbert a lot, love Hendrix, love you. You guys play the guitar. You're not sitting there like some of the modern shredders who are. It's like, no, you take your pick and you jam it into the fucking strings.
Yeah.
You play it the way it's supposed to be played.
Right.
You know, Paul Gilbert does those things where he's and he's like, there is a very big tonal difference between this and this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's between playing it and just playing the notes and everything. So
No
keep
doubt.
it up, man. Keep
All
it
right,
up.
thank you.
Yeah. You play New York XL strings, 10 to 46?
That's correct.
That's what I
Yes.
use also, so I feel like I'm doing something right. Little gear talk. We have signature guitar with you.
Yes.
And we have this awesome new signature pedal that came out
Correct.
with Jam.
Correct.
So this guy is available now or just...
Yes, this one's available now. So the Koch Ness Monster, which is what this is 4 pedals in one.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you mind just giving us a quick little run through of
Yeah, no problem.
why we should buy this bad boy?
Well, first of all, this is just kind of the bare bones of what you need. And so when we talked about the bare bones, they have a really nice, arguably, the top tier like Tube Screamer-ish pedal, and that's called the Lucy Dreamer.
Awesome.
And what's cool about it is you turn it on, and it's got a mix control, so you can mix the amount of affected tone with your just straight guitar
great.
signal, which is cool. And then it's got a boost signal on that same pedal.
Oh my gosh.
So I can be cruising along, at the first gain stage. And here's the additional gain. back to Cleansville.
Man.
So that's pretty versatile right there. Then they've got this this fuzz that I really like, and it's called the Eureka. And you can set it up a bunch of different ways, and I mess with it a little bit. I don't use it all the time.
Okay.
But when I do use it, it hits the spot.
Yeah.
So the thing is about fuzz is that a lot of times you hit a fuzz in comparison to like a tube screamer or a more traditional overdrive pedal, they always sound like they don't live together very well.
No, and certain fuzzes don't work with certain guitars. They're very finicky.
Exactly.
Very finicky.
So this one's kind of cool because it's a combination of like a fuzz face and a big muff. So, and there's 3 different increments of like low end on this bad roll.
Coming out of a little rolling microcube, so man.
And then the other, I like different types of modulation effects, but this is something that they have that they did, Jam that is, they did in conjunction with the Pedal Show guys, and it's called the Harmonious Monk. So it's a harmonic tremolo, they call it. I always call it harmonic vibrato. And it's a little more like kind of unibobby. Good for, you know, kind of Leslie type of thing. And there is a tap tempo, so I can go.
That's real. Absolutely beautiful.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Right? And then we got just a friendly neighborhood delay back here, the delay llama. And of course, you can run that every which way from Tuesday, however you want to run it. But that's just a nice throw and go rig. So I got my little delay action. I got this. And then over here, over here. and then back to this.
So, like how I've said with a lot of your stuff, it's kind of like why have a pedal board of a bunch of different pedals when you can put it together analog still?
Yes.
Not the digital route, but it's kind of. I just love your whole style of if we can make it easier but still classic, let's do it.
Yes.
So,
well, thank you. Now that's the Koch Ness Monster. There's the Supreme.
Right,
which is what I'm using tonight.
11.
I think there's 13.
Oh my God. Everything but the kitchen set.
So
Everything but the tuner.
it's got these 4, but then it's got an additional delay. Their Delay Llama Extreme, which has banks of presets.
Oh, sweet.
And that thing is a delight. And then it's got their Retro Vibe, which is my favorite Univibe available.
It's got your signature overdrive.
Yeah, the Gristle King on it.
Yes.
And I sell the Gristle King separately. The only Gristle King that you can get in the jam world is on the Supreme. It's got a really good, another kind of gain boost or clean boost on there, which they call the Boomster. It's kind of like a treble booster.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. And it's got 3 different increments of kind of modulation. We got the Harmonious Monk, we got their Waterfall, which is their chorus, which is really cool. You can do all kinds of zany stuff with that.
Right, I had heard you say you don't use choruses a lot, but you were like, when it sounds this good, you kind of have to.
Exactly. And then it's got the Retro Vibe, which is my favorite Univibe. So it's kind of got everything I need. And their wah is the best. That Wacko, it's...
And you can plug an expression pedal into it.
Correct, to mess with different, depending on what you want to do. Yeah.
With the amp you are using, do you use, because it's got 3 channels, correct?
Well, I'm using the Tone King amp stuff,
okay.
right? And so I use the Tone King Royalist mostly with the Trio.
Okay, awesome.
So that's a 2-channel amp that's, it's kind of, it's Marshall-y. So it's, you can have it set at like a 1964 setting, 1969, I think, and then a 1974 setting.
I saw there was 3 different settings.
Right. So I use it on the 64, so it's like a JTM 45.
Okay, awesome.
And then there's an attenuator for both channels. So, I mean, if I was just using it and nothing else, no pedals or anything, I would set the 1 channel to the JTM 45 and set it clean, and then go to the 2nd channel and put it on the 70s, I think the 1970 setting. And maybe it's 69, something in there.
Right.
And I would crank that, and
Awesome.
then that would be my 2nd gain stage. And then just kind of match the attenuators to be where they will live together.
That's great that there's separate attenuators and
Yes.
everything. I have I play boogie amps and I have a Fillmore 25, and it's the same kind of thing. Doesn't have an attenuator, but where each channel is exactly the same and you can mimic them. So I always thought that was very cool.
Yeah, it's a cool way to roll.
I could probably talk to you for hours and hours, but dude, thank you so much for sitting down and
My
just
pleasure.
bullshitting with some fun questions. And Aces Axis fans, if you do not know this guy, if you just type him into YouTube, you're going to come up with hours and hours of fun with all of your favorite guitar-related shows and everything like that. So if you are not at Funk N Waffles tonight, make sure to see the Koch Marshall Trio. Where are you guys playing after this? I know you're heading down to New York City. Anywhere and everywhere?
I would just check out the website, which is gregkoch.com, or my socials, which is Greg Koch Music, like on Instagram, Greg Koch Music on Facebook.
Yep. And Instagram.
Instagram, and on X and Blue Sky and Threads. And,
go on to YouTube, type in Greg Koch, and just literally watch. I mean,
YouTube. If you go to Greg Koch Music, there's a bunch of stuff on there. I've been doing live streams.
Look for an orange wall like this, and you're going to see him jamming in his house and everything like that. So, dude, thank you so much for sitting down.
My pleasure. Thank you, Kevin. Very well done.
I appreciate that. I'm going to pick my mouth up off the ground after watching this guy play all night, and we'll be back tomorrow, Aces Axis fans, for the next installment of the Tone Zone. So thank you guys for watching. Peace.
Adios.
Oh, dude, that was so cool. Thank you so much,
my pleasure.
man.
Well done. Those are great questions.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Oh, we're still recording, so you can. I'll put it in.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that pedal sounds phenomenal.